This video shows a newlywed couple escaping into the car after the girl's family suddenly asked for more than an additional 180,000 yuan in bride price. And we see in the video that one of the relatives of the girl's family even hopped onto the hood of the car to try to stop them from leaving on their wedding day. That's on top of already the 180,000 yuan they had asked for before. So that's a total of 50,000 US dollars converted in wedding price. But it is one of the most outrageous and even bizarre social issues facing China today. So there's actually two types of wedding payments here. The one that we traditionally know of, which include things like the expenses of the wedding, right? It could include even the rings, the wedding dress, venue, guests, food. That's just the cost of the wedding. But in China, it's very common on top of that, that the groom's family would have to dish out an additional amount of money to pay the bride's family, called the bride price, in order for that girl to come into their family. One of the main reasons is because there's a huge gender ratio problem in China. There's more men than women, so of course girls are more desirable and marriages are quite competitive. It's very common for a Chinese family living in a big city in China to pay 300,000, or that could be converted to 40,000 US dollars on top of everything else. In fact, they even have a sort of a provincial standard for the average of that particular province. And like I said, you can look at this list here. That's in addition to the cost of venue, food, and everything else. Now, in the West, as we commonly understand it, weddings can cost, 10,000 to 20,000 if you're trying to host a small to medium-sized wedding with, maybe 75 people, and depending on how you plan it. And in most of the cases, the parents don't really pay for it. The bride and the groom pays for it themselves, and that's supposed to be not really you call it the norm, but that's kind of like how people go. Unheard of to me, you can let me know in the comments that the groom's family would have to pay the girl's family in order for that marriage to happen. It's so common in China though, in fact, it has become sort of a transactional relationship where the negotiation between the two parties happen as if they're trying to do a business deal, as if their kids' love for each other is built on the basis that, there is a certain amount of money being transferred. In this video from southern China, on the wedding day, they demanded a bride price of 600,000 yuan or 84,000 US dollars. And this is on top of what they already paid. If the bride could not afford it, then the groom has to drink the bride's foot washing water.
怎么可能喝嘛？我从来没有听到人家说过。你现在要60万过来打。拿60万，阿姨。对。我不拿60万，你就让我喝洗脚水。对。对呀。故意刁难。怎么你说卖不值60万呢？啊？为什么你要60万，你直接跟我说就可以了？你为什么要说非让我喝这个水呢？
And in this video, it tells two families negotiating the price of the bride. The man, which I assume is from the bride's family, says at least 400,000 yuan.
他儿子结婚多少钱？单独彩礼32万，还不包括什么呢？还有很多红包，做酒席的七七八八算下来，4岁大规。
In fact, I would attribute the main factor of the decline of marriage rates and in turn birth rates in China to be that of this bride price norm. In fact, the data shows that 9 years, China's marriage has gone down 56%. It's gotten to the point where the CCP, they've officially sort of discouraged the idea of this pricing when it comes to getting married. Now, according to some data here, marriage registrations in China fell 18% of 2024, this is the second quarter, to 1.46 million. And according to the numbers from Ministry of Civil Affairs, this figure is actually the second lowest on record after 1.39 million in 2022. That is the third quarter, which obviously was during the COVID lockdowns, so people weren't getting married. And this is a Japanese TV report on the situation. In this, we see a girl asking for 500,000 yuan, a house, and a car as part of the package for her bride price.
妻にしたい場合はいくらかかりますか？家1軒、車1台、それに加えて50万元の結納金で。
In this video, Mr. Zhu, the man 35 years old from Shanxi province, he had saved up 188,000 yuan for the marriage gift, and the woman's side suddenly said they want an additional 30,000 yuan, and so he chose to cancel the engagement. Instead, he is now traveling all over China. He says that he wants to have a home and a child, but with the amount of pressure being put on the marriage, there's simply no way for him to do it. Now, part of the reason is simply because getting married, because of the one-child policy, most families have one son or one daughter. And so it's not really the difficult part to save up for the wedding. It's extra difficult, though, when the other side starts asking for an additional amount that's on top of what they saved up. And that's what usually happens, and the wedding gets called off or the engagement gets called off. And so this is on top of what many grooms already promised to the girl's family is a car, a house, and whatever else that was insured, right? In some major cities, like in Shanghai, it's almost a guarantee that you will get a certain minimum amount of the wedding price and with a house and a car attached to it. So that's why you see a lot of times when people go on dates in China, they kind of start listing the material things that they possess before they start even talking about themselves. And of course, along with other qualities, things like job qualifications, education, residence permit, savings, all these things are bonuses on top of that. But like you call it the basic, right, requirement is to have a house, a car. And that's why in a lot of these like bulletin boards or community boards, you see what looks to be like hiring notices, but it's actually marriage applications that the parents put up for their kids. In this video, the bride refuses to get out of the car because the bride's family had just added $66,000, calling it a out-of-the-car fee or stepping out of the car fee. And the groom's family started getting really mad.
回头看，爱不爱都在细节里。你的情已被为自己，心若不在，你何必强求？人若不爱。
And this woman claims that the groom called off the wedding just a day before. Well, the reason is the bride's family started asking him for an additional 30,000 yuan as sort of a sign of love. And this woman here says, we don't really care about the $30,000. It's more like he needs to appreciate to show the gesture. Now, in this video, which I will translate for you here, the girl outlines all of the wedding cost the groom would have to pay. This is them talking about this, right? So first line is 3 gold pieces, 36,000 yuan or 5,000 US dollars, diamond ring, 20,000 or 2,900 US dollars, wedding photos, 15,000 yuan or 2,100 US dollars, into the car fee, 8,000, and out of the car fee is 8,000, that's 1,100 US dollars each. You have the car financial loss fee for the rental, I believe, which is 10K, and that turns out to be 1,400 US dollars. Marrying into the family fee, 20,000 US dollars, sorry, 20,000 yuan, 2,800 US dollars. Name change fee, I assume that has something to do with legal last name change or something like that, 50,000 yuan or 7,000 US dollars. Additional red envelope for the bride's younger brother to send her away, that's 50,000 yuan, 7,000 US dollars, and extra wedding gifts, 500 yuan each. So I did a rough calculation. It's about 30,000 extra dollars that she's asked for. This is the US dollars, by the way, so it's much more in Chinese currency. And clearly this worked for a bit because, China's economy is doing really well. But now, since everybody's getting poorer, it's harder to ask for that price. And it naturally coincides with the decline in marriage rates because I think a lot of people, they're not used to the fact that people aren't making as much money. They're still demanding as much. Or simply because, families can't afford that asking price anymore, so they simply just are delaying the marriage. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Some girls don't want it, or maybe they don't want it, but their families want it. And so, like I said, it turns into this transactional relationship between the two families. You have, the very nasty divorce, which, they start to say that, I paid your family this much, we got to get it back, etc. It sours the relationship, of course. So I saw the screenshot of this guy's conversation with the fiance. The green is the guy, right? So it reads here, you talk 300,000 all the time. I would if I had it, but I really don't. My sister just got married. We spent almost $70,000. I got, keep saying dollars, 70,000 yuan. I got 50,000 and the guest will cost 20,000. That's for their wedding. Now you're asking for 300,000 more. My parents are farmers. We're not business owners. If we had it, we would. You never think about it. Think in our shoes. And then the girl says, then it's over. No need to put it on anyone's family. And his last message was, your brother is also the age of marriage. Would you dish out 300,000 if the other families ask for it? So this is like one of those like really real things, right? Relationships very materialistic in China, often not because people are just so cold-hearted and they're just money chasers, but simply because that's how lives, living is like in China. That's how the society is. And so they're simply dragged along by that current. And so there's also other dynamics like not wanting an additional bride price doesn't necessarily mean that the girl doesn't want a house and a car to begin with, right? So those could be some of the included or inclusive details, the material wealth that they want. Now, in the rare exception that the girl actually don't want anything, right? They call it the naked wedding, then lucky the guy. And so this one here is actually one video where the groom and the bride declare to the wedding ceremony that they are doing a naked wedding, that they're boycotting this tradition of asking for the bride price. And this is another one which kind of sad. The groom's father was diagnosed with a late stage of cancer. When the bride's mother found out, she took the initiative to return all of the prices, 190,000 yuan. So I guess good on her for giving that money back to the family when they need it. So that's a very positive side, right? The negative side is this. There's what's called the leftover women in China. I'm sure you guys have heard of something like this. These are women who, maybe they were demanding more than they were, I guess you would say, qualified for, or that the men didn't think that they were enough. So, they didn't get married, and now they're at an age where it's much harder to date, but they're still demanding more expectations than, I guess, what they're worth. It's kind of sad to think that, women are objectified in a way in China like that, but that's really the reality of it. And of course, we know that overall, the lack of marriage means lack of birth. Not necessarily a direct correlation, because even if you have the money to get married, it's the cost of raising a child in China is so high that often you could be married, still not have a child, or you simply can't afford to. And then I just want to kind of finish off with the point that if everything is transactional in a society, can you really say that the fault is on the individual families to try to want this? I guess from their perspective, it's really trying to, not let their kid be bullied around or pushed around. And they think that the only way to do so is to kind of one up another, even if it means is their in-laws or soon to be in-laws. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments about this topic. Do you have a unique story or maybe something you've heard about this situation in China about marriage and weddings? Let me know. And also like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. That's it for today. Until next time, bye-bye.